You know how to just click.
So thank you very much, John, and thank you very much, everyone, for being here this morning and for being so interested in chess and female empowerment. We'll just take two words out of what John said. One was informal. That made me feel a lot more relaxed. And the other is ideas rich, and that made me feel a lot less relaxed. So I hope I have a few things to say that will be of interest. I have to tell you that when I spoke to a very good friend of mine about being given the honour of, giving the opening talk at this conference. And he said, "Oh, what's it about?" And I said, "It's about chess and female empowerment." And he looked at me and he went, "That's a pretty niche topic." So I think we need to be aware of that. I mean, I think it's something that will be close to all of our hearts, but we've a job of work to do to spread it in the outside world. Not only the importance of chess and female empowerment, but the importance of chess generally in terms of my particular interest, which is children's development. Okay, so as John said, I've been chess teaching and coaching for many years in my capacity as primary school teacher, primary school head teacher, but even before that, trying to boost numbers at my local chess club. I took in kids and taught them chess. So I've been at this for a long time. So a lot of my ideas are based on my own observations rather than, I'm delighted to hear there's going to be some statistics and stuff later, but I don't have much of that, but I have a lot of observations to make. So, is this supposed to come up now? Yes. Why am I giving this speech? I've always, when I've gone to conferences, loathed and despised the keynote speech idea. So it's kind of karmic revenge that I have to do this. But essentially, this is where I'm coming from. This is my school's chess club in action. And you can see it's a pretty popular event. Okay, that's only half of them, by the way. My experience in the schools that I've taught in has often prompted me to think about gender in chess. I've worked with boys and girls. I've worked in two schools, both co-ed. Exactly the same chess program has been open to both genders. Obviously, girls and boys can also all be on the school team. And I am a woman, obviously, and a stronger chess player than most of the kids that I've taught. So I am a kind of a good role model for girls in the sense that, you know, their first experience of a relatively strong player was a woman. And yet I've had the same experience as I'm sure many of you have had, which is that there is a preponderance of boys on the school team, a preponderance of boys at the top, and even a preponderance of boys who volunteer to come to the after-school chess coaching. I have a club in school time, and I also have a club out of school time. So that would be the children's, voluntary choice. And a lot of girls do participate, but it would be about 75% boys, 25% girls. And of course, this raises issues in my head. Okay, and for any woman chess player, I suppose. It's very obvious when you go to chess tournaments. Certainly in Ireland, it was interesting to hear what Malcolm said about the British Chess Federation and the scene in the UK. But in Ireland, it will be pretty much the same, maybe 5% participation at adult level. So why this should be, I think, is a very interesting topic. I'm not going to be able to address all of that, but I'm sure by the end of this weekend, we'll all know. Okay. Now, the title of my talk, as John, go back a little. The title of my talk, as John said, was Does Chess Empower Girls? Because that's my experience really is at mostly primary school level. And when John asked me to speak to this, the first question I asked myself, well, does it empower anybody? Really, does chess empower anybody? Does it genuinely empower children? I obviously believe it does, because that's what I've been doing for so many years. It had a very empowering effect upon me, and I think it had the sort of effect upon me that generally being involved in extracurricular activities has. This is just a précis of a little article in Wikipedia about all the longitudinal studies that have been done to say that any worthwhile extracurricular activity is worth doing and brings children on, has hugely protective effects in terms of social development and staying in school and all these kind of benefits. So I certainly experienced that personally. However, there are a lot of extracurricular options. And even if chess was just one of those, it's still incredibly worth doing and incredibly empowering for those children who get interested in it. If every child in the world learned to play chess, well, you know, at least they have the choice to pursue it further. They've one more enjoyable leisure time activity to do, and one more little corner of a newspaper that they're going to understand. So there's nothing wrong with all of that. But I think we believe that chess can be a little bit more than that, okay? I'm reminded of something that one of our attendees said to me, and it's Liam Murray, my co-Irish person, many years ago when I met Liam first, and I asked him why had he become interested in chess in schools. He didn't have, particularly a competitive chess background. And he said to me, well, I've taught in a couple of schools now where there was chess going on, and it's just clear there's something very powerful happening. He said, and this was the perspective of a non-chess player, watching children play. He said, I'm just getting this feeling there's something very powerful going on. And I had become maybe a little bit blasé about that because I'd been doing it for so long, and I just thought, well, of course kids love chess. But, now that I've retired a couple of years ago, and I've started giving courses to teachers in how to teach chess and how to get school chess clubs and school chess programs started, and everybody comes back with the same story. We thought it would be a dozen kids. We thought it would be one class. We thought it would be a few, particularly maybe a few of the nerdy kids who don't like soccer or whatever. It's always turned out to be they're inundated. More and more kids join. The clubs become overcrowded. Kids love chess. So why? I can see it when I'm looking at kids. The majority of children between 7 and 11 just love playing chess. Maybe later years that changes. Maybe before 7, fewer of them would be able to grasp every aspect of the game. But 7 to 11-year-olds, which is my area of observation, they absolutely love chess. There are very, very few children who drop out of the chess program and sort of say they don't want to do it. Why should this be? And I know that parents are massively approving of it. They see chess as sort of a brainiac activity, and if their child is in the school chess club, it's a really good thing, and they think about chess developing concentration and all that. So that's one thing. There's widespread social approval for chess, and maybe kids pick up on that, and that's part of it. But I also think it comes back to that word power, the centre of empowerment, which is the number of decisions a child needs to take during a chess game, and the number of decisions he's allowed to take, or she is allowed to take. It's your little army, it's your little kingdom. Nobody can tell you what to do. There's no roll of the dice. It doesn't matter how big your opponent is. It's just you and your decisions. And I think whether they win, lose or draw, I think they actually enjoy that experience. That's the best explanation I can come up with anyway. Okay? So I've turned my attention only in the last few years really, to the use that we as educators can put to chess, because children love it. So children are very motivated by chess. So what can we do through chess? In the past, when I ran junior chess programs, I was thinking of it from a chess player perspective. I was thinking of improving my school chess team. I was thinking of improving the Irish chess scene by, producing more chess players and more people who are interested in chess. Now I've become much more interested in what chess can do for all children, okay? And I know that there's some current research to say that it has not been proved at all that chess has any kind of crossover effect in terms of literacy and numeracy, for example. I actually think there's scope for, and perhaps there have been, that I wouldn't be aware of, there have been perhaps studies to show the emotional benefits of chess, the benefits of chess in terms of emotional intelligence. I think maybe the wrong potential benefits have been focused on, and if we focused on these emotional intelligence benefits, we would maybe find very powerful effects. I think it's because chess provides hot moments, in a child's life. There's intense disappointment, at the chessboard. Sometimes I'm sure you've all seen this. I'm sure we've all seen perhaps the sad sight of a child crying over a chess game. And it's about, to me, chess can really be used if you make it very specific and make it very explicit to the children, it can be used to build resilience. I do a little bit of chat with the children at the start of every chess club session, and it's not about tactics or gambits or anything like that. It's about, what are you going to do if you're very disappointed? What are you going to do if you win a game and you're really pleased? How are you going to avoid gloating and being unempathetic to your opponent? All these kind of social and emotional benefits, and all the benefits of also what we know, those of us who are chess players know, the importance of managing your emotions and the importance of looking before you leap, pausing, thinking, examining the best options. They are all fantastic life skills. But I think if we're teaching them through chess, we do need to make them explicit for the children. Otherwise, there possibly won't be any big crossover. I saw on the Chessity documentation, which is outside on display, that the mention of this growth mindset. Those of you who are educators, you're probably sick of hearing about growth mindset, but just in case anybody hasn't come across this, this is a wonderful educational tool to look at how we should build our educational programs in general, not just chess. I think chess fits into growth mindset magnificently because it is a genuine challenge. See the third one down there on the green side, I want to challenge myself. I do think that a lot of both boys and girls, but particularly perhaps girls in my experience, find primary school curriculum generally quite easy and find it quite possible to be excellent, to be perfect. And chess offers them the opportunity to not be perfect. And I think this is the kind of nub of perhaps chess and girls, and the fact that perhaps girls don't progress in chess, in a general sense as well as boys. Interestingly, it has been shown that a lot of girls, when they move into secondary school, having done very, very well at primary school, being top of the class and all the rest of it, when they come across things like maths and physics at a higher level, they tend to go, oh, right, okay, so I didn't understand it at first go. The teacher is speaking, and for the first time in my life, I'm coping with the idea that I don't understand the concept that she or he has explained. And their instant thought is, well, I'm a very good student, so if I'm not understanding this, that must mean maths or physics is not for me, so I'm just going to bow out. Whereas chess would give them that experience at a much earlier age, that experience of coping with something that's very, very dynamic, very hard to pin down. You can give children all sorts of guidelines, don't bring your queen out too early, and then they get scholars mated on move 4, so it's that sort of incredibly difficult and complex task, and they have to learn to kind of swim in the soup of that and to cope with difficult ideas, okay? So, another thing I did when I was asked to do this was looked up a few things on the internet in a bit of a panic, and I found a good article by a lady called Hannah Shank, an American lady, and she wrote an article called Where's Bobby, with an I, Fisher, all about how little girls sign up to play chess in droves, so why are so few of the top players in the world women? And she wrote very interestingly about the experience of being the only girl in a tournament when she was a little girl, and noted that her daughter had had a similar experience, and she talks about the kind of stereotype threat business that girls join, and they kind of realise, oh, this is actually not for girls. There's so many boys here and very few girls. I don't know whether it's a particularly United States thing. This wouldn't be as widespread in Ireland, but she was talking about the fact that young boys tend to play chess very aggressively, whack pieces down on the board and sort of shout check and all this kind of thing, and that this maybe puts girls off. She talked about, the widespread opinion that, would be widespread in the chess world. I believe Nigel Short said it again recently, that women just simply aren't hardwired to play chess well, and that, basically should leave it to men. And then she was introduced to the concept of, well, there's girls' prizes, there's girls' tournaments, women's tournaments, and women's FIDE titles, that kind of thing, which are very genuine attempts to help women develop and to help grow the number of women playing chess. I'm not going to get into whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, because I really think the jury is out on it a little bit, and I benefited hugely from all the ladies' prizes and ladies' tournaments and ladies' Olympiads and all the rest of it, so I'm not going to diss them. But Hannah did make a remark in the article, and it was about how she thought when she was a little girl, she heard about girls or ladies' chess tournaments particularly. She said, are the chess pieces that adults play with so heavy that only men can, do them? So this was an opportunity for me to put a hunk into my PowerPoint. So okay. So on my observation of girls playing chess, I think the one thing that would strike me, and I am hugely generalising here, because, as I said, very often my board one is a girl. I've had several school champions. I would say 50% of all my school champions have been girls. I've nearly always had one or two very strong girls, mostly one. And on the team then, one girl and the rest boys. So why aren't there more girls? I'm talking about the other girls, right? What I'm struck by when girls start playing chess at the very earliest stages, so once they've learned how to move the pieces, I'm struck by their caution at the board. I'll quite often see girls' games that look a little bit like this. Okay, the hedgehogs should really be at the top and the bottom, but I couldn't get that to work. The pawns moving up, and then the rooks moving up, and then the bishops moving up, and everything is just sort of sitting there, and nothing crosses the central line. This is particularly if two girls are playing each other. Obviously, in my school, often boys and girls play each other. And actually, the main remark I'd like to make about that is that makes chess a very boring game. The girls. Our typical chess session would last like half an hour, 40 minutes. I come by, I look down at a position like that and I say, draw. What did anybody learn about chess from that? What enjoyment did anybody get out of it? So now that I've become aware of it, I kind of tend to really talk to the girls about it and make it really explicit and say, look, this is hedgehog chess. Don't play hedgehog chess. Get your pieces out. It doesn't matter if you lose pieces. It doesn't matter if you get checkmated. You learn something. You learn nothing by coming along every Friday and playing half an hour like this and disappearing. So I've noticed an improvement from that point of view since I have started, nagging them about it, essentially. I don't think girls are more fearful than boys. I don't think they're less competitive. What I do think is it's going back to this perfectionism thing. Girls like to be perfect, particularly at primary level. My personal belief is that this is a socialization process rather than something that's kind of neurological, but it could be hormonal as well, I'm not sure. Girls want to please the teacher, they want to do well, they want to score 100%. When they do a penmanship exam or a spelling exam or anything like that, they can work hard, they can learn the stuff and they can get 100%. They can't do this with chess, so they find a way of doing it, which is I'm not going to lose any pieces, I'm going to play like a hedgehog. Okay? So I think girls have an extra hurdle to clear in terms of when they learn chess, developing a little bit further, their fear of making mistakes. They are afraid not to be perfect. And again, I have started to make this very explicit with girls, and that has improved things a bit. So in terms of approaches that we could all take to improve the situation with regard to initial chess education and girls, I do very strongly stress the business that, mistakes are okay. We use as our motto, I'm sure many of you do, but we use as our motto this motto here, which should come up. I think it's a great motto for a chess club or for any kind of activity really, especially anything competitive. I also find that when I'm doing my initial lessons, my absolute baby beginner lessons, that I focus on mini games for a good long time, much longer than I used to. I would make a class play mini games for maybe 10 to 12 weeks, and I find that this gives the girls, it's a more sequential form of chess and makes them feel a little more confident in then when they eventually come to play a full game. In the past, I think my attitude would be, oh, look, show them how the pieces move and then get them playing and then get them into the chess club and, you know, let them sink or swim sort of thing. But I really do not think, for girls particularly, I don't think that's the right approach. I think a more structured and sequential approach is much better. Also then, once the children have learned to play and once they've joined my after-school club, I have about 40 in the club, as I say, about 75% boys, 25% girls, and I have 2 other school clubs which I run in the same way. The children have to do, for 10 or 15 minutes at the start of the session, they have to do puzzles. And I have a sequential series of puzzle books going right from the very beginning up to, you know, more advanced tactics. And then they get certificates for each, you know, puzzle book they complete or whatever. I'm sure most of you are doing something similar if you are chess instructors. But just recently, I surveyed the children and asked them, you know, what do you think about the puzzle book approach? And this is the result I got. Okay. Over on the left, it's on a scale of 1 to 5, how much do you enjoy coming to chess club? So I am very pleased that 4.6% is the average score for a girl, 4.2 for the boys. But if we look at the puzzle solving element, the girls are overwhelmingly in favour of this approach compared to boys. They like the feeling that at least for 10 or 15 minutes they can achieve. If they lose the game that they play afterwards, well, they lose the game. But they're still scoring points, they're still achieving something, and they feel they're achieving mastery. And I think that is an important aspect of what we do as a chess coach and as a chess organiser to improve things for girls and chess. Okay. So my answer to the question that was posed at the start of the session, which is, does chess empower girls, is this. It's a bit more nuanced than a yes or a no. Okay. Chess can play a unique role in empowering all children, I would say, or almost all children. But to make sure girls can avail of this empowerment, we need to modify our approach and present chess in a more sequential way. And once a critical mass of girl chess players is achieved, the sky will be the limit as far as female empowerment in chess is concerned. And thank you all so much for listening.